10 on page 87. I've already created the application, and it is called Random Numbers 2 here only because I had already created it once. So this is actually the first application where we're going to be importing a package into our application. So I'm actually just going to come right here below the package name and type import java.util.random. As you can see, when I did that, the Smart menu popped up and gave me all the options, but I just went ahead and typed it. So if I come here, I'm going to go ahead and initiate our first variable, which is actually going to be random generator, which is going to be equal to new random, which is going to just invoke the package that we imported. So right below that, I'm going to go ahead and declare our first variable, which is going to be an int, integer, called num1. That means it's going to be between 0 and 1, and it's going to be a whole number. The second variable is going to be a double, and we're going to call it num2. That means it's going to be between 0 and 1, 0.0 and 1.0, unless we declare it otherwise. The first method we're going to do here is going to use our num1 variable, and we're going to set it to the generator dot next int, and in between here we're going to put the number 10. What that does, specifically the next int, it always is between 0 and the number minus 1. So in this case we've put 10, so it's going to be in the range of 0 to 9. So when we do our system.out.println, we're going to put in here from 0 to 9, and we're going to use concatenation to add the num1 variable to show up. So if we go ahead and run this, what we're going to get is just the output that reads from 0 to 9, and it reads 3. Because this is a random number generator, if we run it again, we'll obviously get a different output. The second method we're going to do is going to use our num1 variable again, and we're going to again use the generator.nextInt. And in the parentheses we're going to put 10 again, but this time we're actually going to add 1. When we put the plus 1, or the number outside of it, what it does is it resets the minimum value. So instead of being from 0 to 9, we are now going to be from 1 to 10. So when we do our system.out.println, we are going to say from 1 to 10. And again, we're going to use the concatenation and plus num1, and that will display our output plus the variable. Again, because it's a random number generator, it's going to generate different numbers each time. The next method we're going to do here is going to again use the generator.nextInt, and here we're going to put 15. Basically that would indicate that our range is going to be from 0 to the number minus 1. So if we were going to do this without adding anything, it would be from 0 to 14. But we are going to actually add 20 here, and so that's going to set our minimum value at 20. So our system.out.println is going to read from 20 to 34. And I'm going to add our num1 here, and when I run it, it's going to give us a whole number between that range. The last method we're going to do with specifically just num1 and the next dot int is going to be the num1 generator dot next int, and in here we're going to put 20, which would indicate that the number is going to be a range of 19. But the instead of putting a plus, we're going to put minus 10, which would actually set our minimum value to negative 10. So when we do this, it's going to be from negative 10 to 9, because negative 10 plus 19 is obviously 9. And by doing this and running it, we will get a whole number between those two ranges. The next method we're going to do is actually going to use our num2 variable, which is set to a double specification, which means it is a fraction or a decimal number. So we're going to set it to a generator dot next double instead of the int that we've been using. And in this case, we're actually not going to put anything here. And so it's going to give us a random double number between 0 and 1. So we do the system.out.println. We're going to go ahead and say a random number. And I'm going to use the straight brackets to just put our range here. This is not required, but we're just going to be very specific about the range we're doing. And then add it to our num2. So once I've done that, as you can see, I'm going to get a decimal point number between 0.0 and 1.0. The final method we're going to do is kind of a two-step piece. We're going to declare num2 equal to the generator dot next double, and by doing multiply by 6, what it's going to do is it's going to set our range from 0 to 5.9 to the repeating. Now, if we were to simply printline this, which is not in the book, and just display num2, what we would get is a number in that range, which, as you can see, would be this right here. But instead, in the book, what they're having us do is to create a second declaration here of num1, and we're going to create it to cast, which is when we take a double and we actually round or create it into an integer, the num2 plus 1. What this is going to do is take our random double generator for num2 times 6, which is going to be between 0 and 5.9 repeated, but it's going to create it into an integer, and then it's going to add 1. So as you can see, if I do a system.out.println and I display from 1 to 6 and add num1 in this case, it's going to give me our random number between 1 and 6, and then as an integer. Now, if I were to do this and let's say just take this out, what it would do is just cast our num2 into an integer. So if I run this like that, what it's going to do is just give me the random number without adding 1. But by adding 1, it's going to take that and add 1.